Hello friends. Today we will have a look at a very interesting use case which is very common, and that is the invoice document extraction. Okay, so the use case gets a little complex when you are dealing with multi-page invoices, which means you've got invoice documents that span over one page and could be two, three, four, five pages, and you have the invoice summary fields, which is the invoice number, invoice date, the vendor name on the first page as the header, and you have the final total on the last page, which could be your page 2, page 3, or anything for that matter. And also, you have the line items table, right? So every invoice would have certain line items, and the typical fields are like description, rate, quantity, and line total, and so on. So that line items table also could very likely span across multiple pages in a multi-page invoice. So that becomes a slightly complex use case, and that is exactly what we are going to see here using Microsoft Power Apps and the AI builder that comes along. Okay, of course, when I say comes along, it is still to be purchased separately as a license. But here I'm using my developer account wherein I have the trial activated. Okay, so the few steps to do in this are given here, which is you build a form processing model in AI Builder, then you train the model. Once the model is trained, you quick test it with a few invoices being uploaded to the model and checking for the output. Once you're happy with the test results, you publish the model, and finally you use your model in Power Apps or Power Automate flow. Okay, so these are the primary steps. Now we will have a look at the invoices, okay, that I'll be using for the demo. Okay, so there is some preparation, as I mentioned on the previous slide, in terms of building the model and also having your invoice documents ready. So what you need here is you need to have a minimum of 5 invoice documents. I would always recommend more than 5 um, invoice documents of the same structure ready. Okay, so the invoices have to still be categorized in templates. So let's say you have multiple vendors. Okay, vendor A, vendor B, vendor C, vendor D, and so on, and they send you the invoices in their own formats. So all those formats or the templates will have to be categorized within your AI Builder model separately. Okay, so I here for this demo, I am just considering one vendor at this point of time. Okay, and that vendor for each of those vendor models to be trained, we need to have at least 5 documents of that same template. Okay, and as I mentioned, it is minimum of 5 for building the AI Builder model, and the additional documents that you can have will be used for testing the output. So you should typically look at 7, 10, 20 documents based on how complex they are. But this is my setup for the demo. Now I will just show you my documents. So these are 8 documents that you can see here. So I'll just open the first document. So documents 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 I would be using for training my model. So this is the simple document. So as you can see here, it is only a one-page document. So I have the vendor name, I have some details around the invoice number and date here, some payment terms here. Then this is the line items table that I was mentioning. So there's a code, there's a description, quantity, and so on. And then you have your value here at the bottom. Okay. So I'll just close this. I'll open the second document. Again, this is a one-page document here. Okay. Similarly, with all the details that I mentioned. I'll open the third invoice. Again, one page invoice, which is straightforward. Now, this fourth invoice that I will be using for training the model is a two-page invoice, as you can see here, page 1 of 2, right? So this is the first page. So again, here you can see on the first page, you have the line items table. And now I'll go to the second page and you have another table here, which is again for the line items being continued. And finally, you have the totals at the bottom. So this is a two-page invoice. And then I also have a three-page invoice wherein you have your line items table on the first page, again a line items table on the second page, and on the third page again you have the line items table. So it's a lengthy invoice, so to say, right? So these are the five documents that I will be using to train my model, and then I'll be using a few other documents to test it and use it in our Power Apps. Okay, so far so good. Now let's move on to the next steps, which is you building your AI Builder model. So first things first is log into make.powerapps.com with your Microsoft account. So that is what I will do. I'll go to make.powerapps.com. So there you go. I am already logged in. Now you select AI Builder here, as you can see on the left, expand it, and then you click on build, wherein you can start building your model. Okay, now the next step, as we can see here, is navigate to AI Builder, build, click form processing, and give a name to the model. So we'll wait for this page to load. Okay, now you have to click this form processing model here. And this is what you get. So as you can see here, the three small tabs, as you can see, one is get started, examples, and best practices. You can go through it on your own, but I'll quickly brief you about the get started thing. So see, step one here is to teach the model about your documents, which is where it says that upload 5+ documents for um, each template, right? That is what you see here as well, what you will need, 5+ documents with the same layout. The next step on the get started here is, let's see, tag documents and then train your model. Okay, wherein you will be training your model, showing the model where to find the fields on the document. And finally, the third step would be to publish and use the AI Builder model, and then use it to process your documents. Okay, so we will now name this AI Builder model. I'll call this as demo invoice extraction. I'll click on create. It takes some time to create the model. And it is all dependent on your internet speed. So the beauty of this platform, the Microsoft Power Platform, is that it is a low code, no code sort of a rapid application, rapid automation development platform. And everything is on the cloud, so you don't have to install anything. Of course, there's a desktop version for Power Apps and Power Automate as well. But primarily, you can do everything on the cloud through a web-based interface that you see here. Okay, so now what it asks me is enter field name. So you can see here there are two types of fields that we need to define. One is the fields and the others is the tables. Okay, which was your line items. So first we will define the fields. Let's say my first field is vendor name. I'll click on add. Other name would be invoice number. I'll click on add again. Invoice date. Click add. Invoice total. Click the plus button here again. So these are the summary fields that I need. Okay, as you saw in the documents as well, right? So if I just open one of these documents, so invoice number, invoice date, the total is here at the bottom here, okay, and the vendor name here is at the top. And maybe if you want terms of payment also, you can add that payment terms, okay. So the summary fields are defined. Now what I want to do is I want to add tables, okay, which is the line items. So I click on tables here. This is in preview mode at this point of time. It is not generally available. Okay, so click on new table. I'll call this as line items. Okay. Now, a very interesting thing that you need to do and always remember here for multi-page invoice documents is, as you saw, that there were line item tables on all those multiple pages. So if it was a two-page document or a three-page document that you just saw, there were tables on on those pages as well, right? So this is a two-page document, and you have this table here on the first page, and you have a table here on the second page. So what you need to do is you need to make sure you define these tables as separate tables. Very important here. Okay, so I'll call this as line items. So for the first page table, I will call it as line items 1. Okay, and then I will enter the column name here. So let's say I want the description. I'll add the column. Next is, let's say I want the quantity. Then I want the price here. And then the line total, which is the last column. Okay, so that is my table defined for page 1. I'll now create a new table. I'll call it line items 2, and the column names will be again exactly the same. Description, quantity, price, line total. And I'll add another table since we are looking at even a 3-page invoice. I'll call it as line items 3. Column names will be the same. Description, then quantity, price, and line total. Okay, you can then delete a table if you want to recreate something, or if you want to edit these field names here, you can just click on this field here and you can edit like that. I'll just keep it the same. Okay, so now I have got my 3 tables defined since I'm looking at a maximum of 3-page invoice, and the column names are exactly the same. This is a very important step. I'll click on next. Now, as you can see, it is saying add collections of document. So create a collection for each layout. So as I mentioned, those templates coming in from different vendors can be classified as collections. So since I'm just using one single template for just one single vendor, I will create a collection for that vendor. And within one AI Builder model, you can have up to 100 collections. So what that means is you can have 100 different vendor templates within one single AI Builder forms processing model. So I'll click on new collection. I'll name the collection as, um, I'll give it the name of my vendor name, which is Test Logistics. So this is my first collection or one collection that I will be using for this demo. Okay, I'll click to add documents. As you can see here now, it says add 5 or more documents with the same layout. Very important. Okay, and then you can see here the formats that are allowed. So JPG, PNG, or PDF files. Very interesting and important to note. And up to 5 MB or 500 pages in total. All right. So I'll add the documents. Upload from local storage. You can choose SharePoint or any other location as well. So I'll choose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as you can see, those 5 documents have been captured here, and I'll just upload those documents. Okay, now it'll upload these documents and then we will start training it. Right, so as you can see, all these 5 documents have been uploaded. I'll close this. And now, even before we start training it, we first go and analyze this. So it's a smart thing that the AI Builder does for us. It'll analyze the documents, and it does take some time. And this platform, the Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agents, and Power BI, it's a fantastic platform to build your enterprise scale solutions, be it quick applications or even comprehensive and very complex applications also, with some wonderful capabilities such as building responsive apps, whether you want to build a mobile app or an app for your tablet or an app for your desktop. You can build responsive app within Power Apps itself for your enterprise, and you can build good solid automations, workflow automations, or even RPA automations using Power Automate. And then Power Virtual Agents is your conversational AI-driven chatbots with a very good click and drop, drag and drop sort of an interface and very quick ways of building the solutions. And then Power BI is for your analytics, reporting, and dashboards kind of a stuff. Okay. So as you can see here, now what you get is this invoice document in the center, and then you have those documents, 5 documents that I uploaded here in this small pane here that you can see. And here, what you get to see here is the different fields that you need to now train this model on. Okay. So now what it says is the fields, which is vendor name, invoice number, invoice date. So these are the fields that I mentioned in the previous step. Then you have your line items one table, which was your invoice line items on page one, line items two, which is for page two, line items three, which is for page three. So this is something which we configured in the previous steps. Now we need to teach it here. Okay, so first vendor name. Okay, now if you look at this, I just hover the mouse here, you can see it is selecting something, right? So that is what the AI builder is identifying. Now it is just identifying this test, logistics, and this PTY, LTD as separate elements. But I want this to be captured as the entire vendor name. So what I do is just drag a box around this. And there you see now it has captured test logistics, PTY, LTD here. And now I just need to specify what this field denotes. So in my case, it is vendor name. I click on vendor name. And then now, as you can see, it has turned green here. And here the vendor name field also has been checked. Now we need to look at the next field, which is invoice number. So I'll click here, and this is my invoice number. Then for the invoice date, I'll click here. As you can see, it has captured the date, and I'll just click invoice date. Now invoice total, which is here at the bottom. This is the invoice total that I have. I click on this, it has captured it correctly. As you can see the value here, I'll just say invoice total, and then the payment terms. So again, for payment terms, these different words in the sentence have been captured separate, have been indicated separately. As you can see, I want this to be one full text. So I'll just drag a box around it. And there you can see now payable within 30 days of invoice date is my terms of payment. That's what I want. I click on payment terms. Fantastic. So my summary fields here have been defined well. And if I hover my mouse on these, you can see it is indicating that respective field on the invoice at the center, right? So if you look at invoice number, invoice date, invoice total, payment terms, and so on. Now we'll come to line items one. So since this is a one-page invoice, this is going to be my table, which is line items one. Now what you have to do is click on this small icon that you see here, okay? And it says preview detected table and tag table. So what I want to do here is tag the table. So I'll click on tag table. And now, as you can see here, this is showing me 3 tables here. Unfortunately, it's a little messy layout. Okay, so I just need to maybe scroll up and again try clicking on this tag table. So as you can see, it is going to the right here and you cannot really clearly see. And if I try to scroll, it suddenly vanishes. So Microsoft need to do something about this. Okay, I'll click here again, tag table, and I know here that this is my line items one table here. This is the line items two, and this is the line items three. So I'll click on line items one. Now what it says is tag columns for line items one. So, and you can see here it has identified certain columns here, right? So I need to tag the right columns. So my columns are description, quantity, price, and line total. So I'll click on this column and I'll tag this as description. Then I'll tag this column, which is my quantity. I will click on quantity. Then I want the price, which is this column. Click on price. And then this inclusive value is my line item total. Okay, the line total. So I'll click on this. And now as you can see, it has been identified correctly. So description, quantity, you look at the green selections as I changed the text here, right? As I hovered over these fields. So all these have been identified. So far, so good. Now what happens to line items two? So this is a one-page invoice. There is no line items two here. So I just click on these three dots here besides line items two and say it is not available in the document. Same thing for line items 3, since this is for a 3-page invoice, it is not applicable in this document. So I will click on not available in this document. Once I do that, they are all disabled as you can see here, and all the correctly identified fields here are in green. And as you can see here, this is turned purple with a tick mark, which means that this document has been configured correctly. Similarly, we now move on to the second document. Just click on the document here. And what the AI builder says is we've recognized some fields in the document and automatically tag them for you. So fairly intelligent, just click on got it. So invoice date is what it has captured correctly. Payment terms has been captured, but otherwise I still need to define the other fields. So I will select this as the vendor name. This is my invoice number, and then this is my invoice total. The line items table has been detected correctly as you can see as I'm hovering my mouse over these fields on the right. It is changing on the left, right? So they are all captured correctly. Line items 2, again, this is a one-page invoice, so I just need to click on these three dots and click on not available in document. Everything is disabled now. Same thing for line items 3, not available in document, disabled. And now you get a purple with a tick mark here. So second document has been configured. We go to the third document here. Same way, it's the same steps that we need to repeat. So I will quickly do it. Vendor name, invoice number, invoice total, and line items 2 not available in the document, line items 3 not available in the document. So three documents are now purple with a tick in the center. Now we will go to the fourth and fifth document. These are the multi-page invoices now. So let's look at document 4. Okay, so some same steps that we need to repeat here. Vendor name, invoice number, invoice total is now on the third page here. So invoice total. Okay, sorry, this is a 3-page invoice. All right, fantastic. 3 of 3. So these fields have been configured. Line items 1 table would be your table on the first page, as you can see here. Okay, now we need to teach it the line items 2 table, which is on the second page. So I'll click on this icon on the second page. I will say tag table, and this is my line items 2. I'll select that, and then I will select this column, which is description, tag it to my description here. I'll select the column here, which is the quantity, tag it to quantity, price column, tag it to the price, and the inclusive value column, which is my line total. Great. So as you can see, line items to table now has been defined. So far, so good. Now we scroll down to the third page, and this is my line items 3 table. So I'll again click on the small icon here, click on tag table, and there you go. Here it is line items. It's come down here as you can see, line items 3. I'll click on that, and now I will tag the columns. So description column is my description, quantity is my QTY, price is my price, inclusive value is my line total, and it has been configured. So as you can scroll down, scroll up here, all the fields are in green here and they are being identified correctly. Okay, so you can see a purple with a white tick here. So document 4 has been configured. Now I will go on to my last document, which is the fifth document. Again, same steps to be repeated here. This is my vendor name, my invoice. Oops, sorry, that's wrong. So I have, you know, I'm removing the tag since I incorrectly tagged it. So what is this? Okay, invoice number. I'll delete this. I'll remove the tag. So vendor name, invoice date, and I want this to be tagged as the invoice number. Fantastic. Now I want the invoice total, which is here on the last page. Invoice total. That's been done. Payment terms have been captured correctly. Invoice number, invoice date, everything is correct here. The vendor name is correct. Line items 1, which is the first page table, all good. Line items 2, which is the second page table, all good. There is no page 3, so line items 3 is already disabled here. And that way we have now configured all our 5 documents. Now I just click on next. Now you come to this page and then click on train. Now this is where it says that your model is training and it may take some time. Okay. Okay, now the training is complete as you can see here. We will now check the model's performance and publish it. So click on go to details page. And we will have a look at what is there. Okay, so as you can see, there are two buttons here. One is the publish, where you can publish this model so that it can be used in your Power Apps or Power Automate. And the other button is quick test. So let's quickly test this. Drag and drop an image here or upload from my device. I will upload a document. I will just upload. So the first 5 documents is what we've used to configure. I will upload the 6th document to check the results. So as you can see, this document is now being analyzed by the AI Builder model, the form processing model. And now you can see here, it has identified test logistics, which is our vendor name. The confidence score is 100%. So this confidence score can be later on used to build something around it for your business logic. Okay, so confidence score of 100% means the AI builder is very confident and that it has correctly extracted that field. You have the document number. So the confidence score, as you can see, is 78% here, which is still decent. The date is 96% confidence, good enough. Then we have the terms of payment, which is 100% confidence, fantastic. And then you have your table here, which has been extracted, fantastic. And you have the invoice total. So far, so good. And we will just close this. We will again check for another invoice, which is a multi-page invoice. Let's look at this invoice, which is a two-page invoice. Again, the AI builder will analyze this invoice, and we will look at the analysis here. So again, here the vendor name is correct, payment terms are correct, the invoice number. This time it has given a confidence of 100%. So you see the invoice confidence, the confidence score varies. Okay, 100% for date, fair enough. Table 1 has been extracted and identified here, as you can see, identified in green. Table 2 also has been identified in green. All good. Invoice total 100%. So looks good. I am kind of happy with the way this model is working at this point of time. So now what we will do is we will click on publish, and that model will now be published. It will take some time. Okay, now my model has been published, and now it says use model. So if I click on use model here, you can see it gives a pop-up whether you want to use it in a new Power Apps app or a new flow in Power Automate. So I'll just click on new app to show you what happens. Okay. So once we click on new app, it is opening Power Apps in a separate browser tab, as you can see. And what it will do is it will present me with a template screen with the AI Builder component added to the app. So as you can see, it has by default opened in a mobile view. And this is a very important message. It says that this is a premium component. So the AI Builder component is a premium component and it is licensed. So anyone using an app containing this component will need an AI Builder license. Very important here. Okay, I'll click on got it. So as you can see here, it's a portrait mode, a default mobile app view kind of a thing. And this is the component that it has already inserted, which is the form processor model, as you can see here. Okay, and then this can be used to detect the invoice. So I'll just quickly, I'll not change anything. I'll just click on the play button here to run this app. We'll click on analyze, and then it takes me to a pop-up to upload a document. I'll just upload one of these documents so that it begins its analysis on that document. And what it will do is it will present those fields within the document here now. So as you can see, you can zoom in a bit here, okay, using the zoom buttons, but still not great enough. Okay, so what it is trying to show is the blue ones, which are all highlighted, and the confidence is good enough. So as you can see, invoice number, invoice date here, they've been kind of identified nicely. So everything is in blue, which means it is all good, right? Okay, I'm just restoring it back to its original zoom. So this is how it does. And now what we have to do is you have to further customize this app to add components. So for example, you want the user to be able to see the vendor name here on the screen, the invoice number, invoice date, the grand total on the screen itself. And then you also want the user to have a look at the line items table here. So you will have to put a tables control sort of a thing here and uh, configure it accordingly. But this is how it looks. It gives you a good starting point to get started with your Power Apps module for invoice extraction. Okay. Now we will look at the Power Apps application building in a separate video. But I hope this has, I'll just close this app for now. I don't want to save it. I'll leave. And there you go. Now I hope you have really understood how the configurations are to be done. And if you look at the models here, I will have that model listed as well. Okay. Sorry for that. I'm having a slightly bad throat. And there you see. Okay. So As you can see, the last trained is just 8 minutes ago, which is what we have trained, demo invoice extraction. So this was trained. And if you click on three dots, you can share this model and delete it or look at details and so on. And if you want to, update this model further, you just click on the model here and it'll open up the model. And what you can do is you can add more collections to it also if you want. You can configure it the way you want for other invoice templates as well. Right. So once you click on that and then you click on edit model, it will take you to the edit screen and you will be able to configure the way we did it some time back. Right. So that's it on the AI Builder form processing model configuration for multi-page invoice. Very important. Some of those steps are very important if you're looking at multi-page invoice extraction. And I'll do the demo of the Power Apps to extract these invoices very shortly. Thank you so much. Have a great day.